the first question I got wrong is asking about an individual being evaluated for repetitive stress disorder. They complain of numbness and tingling of the thumb, index, middle, and radial half of the ring finger, and arching pain in the proximal forearm. The client states that these symptoms are not evident at night, and the OT notes a positive Tinel's sign. Which should the therapist document as the location of the sign for this client? So I had originally answered the forearm. However, using my scientific reasoning to come to this conclusion, the first thing to do is learn about Tinel's sign. Tinel's sign is the numbness and tingling of the fingers when the affected nerve is tapped. It is important to understand which nerve supplies the thumb, index, middle finger, and radial half of the ring finger, which is the median nerve. So knowing this information, Guyon's canal can be eliminated because that is not the correct nerve, and that is the ulnar nerve. So the wrist can be eliminated because the pain is in the proximal forearm, which is proximal to the wrist. The pain in the forearm indicated that the elbow is not the correct answer because this is the sign of pronator teres syndrome, and so therefore the correct answer is the forearm. The second question that I got wrong was an OT working on an acute psychiatric inpatient unit conducts a series of groups for clients newly admitted to the unit. Which group leadership style is most effective for the therapist to assume when leading these groups? I had initially answered facilitative. However, the correct answer to this question is direct leadership. Using pragmatic reasoning, this answer makes sense as the therapist needs to assess the realities of the environment. In the environment of a psych setting, advisory and laissez-faire would not provide them with enough structure, potentially leading them to have stronger emotions in the group setting than what is intended for. So with this also being a new setting for participants, it would be difficult for participants to collaborate, which would be more of the facilitative style. So the direct leadership is most efficient as it gives them as it will provide them with the necessary expectations and then initial guidance. And then the final question that I got wrong was an OT plans a task-oriented group for adolescents recently diagnosed with anorexia nervosa. Which is the best activity for the therapist to include in the initial session of this group? So I had initially answered baking cookies for the residents in the homeless shelter. I did that because I thought it was directed towards the target problem. However, upon reflection and using my pragmatic reasoning, I noticed that it is important for the therapist to consider the realities of the environment. The participants are seeking mental health services, and the answer that allows the most, so with the psychiatric services, you want to have the therapist have the clients experience the most emotional expression. So with that being said, the composing lyrics in a melody is the most efficient way for those clients to express that emotional needs. Baking cookies, making cards, and doing exercises would not really allow them to express their emotions. So that is why that composing lyrics and melody for a group song is the most efficient.